What's going on, guys? This is kind of just a reminder that even out here in Silicon Valley, where people are supposed to be at the top of their game as far as tech goes, we do have a lot of liberal weirdos, and they can't seem to disconnect themselves from politics when it comes to technology. And this article that this person wrote, uh, Andrew Leonard, basically is the epitome of what I'm talking about. The article is titled "The Blockchain is a Reminder of the Internet's Failure." And this is directly tied to, quote, fake news and other garbage that we'll get into. But you can see the sub title here. The same utopian promises that bloomed during the internet's early days are back. Be afraid. Never be afraid. Don't fear anything. Being afraid is weak, and guys like this are the type that are afraid. So let's see what this guy has to say. I remember the day I fell in love with the internet, as well as I remember the birth of my children. The summer of 1993, I was a reporter at the alt weekly San Francisco Bay Guardian, and my editor assigned me a story about an anime convention in Oakland, California. I asked the organizer of the conference where I could find some fanboys to interview. They all hang out on the internet, he said. I didn't have access to the internet, but I had a modem and a CompuServe account that I used to exchange emails with my uncle. Yeah, I used CompuServe, I used Prodigy. Even before that, I was on BBSs. That was just how it was. Even before the internet, we were still able to uh, transfer information. So the fact that he was not aware of this stuff is a little bit strange. An hour spent lurking in a CompuServe anime forum sparked a life changing epiphany. The online world, I realized instantly, was a fantastic reporting tool. I learned more about anime in that hour than I could have in a week spent tracking down interview subjects via landlines. I knew right away that I had to break out of the CompuServe walled garden and start homesteading the wild internet. From that day forward, my Rolodex might as well have been carved on cuneiform tablets. Within a week, I had figured out how to use my wife's University of California, Berkeley student account to Telnet and Gopher and FTP my way around the pre-web net. Within the year, I had quit The Guardian, although not before dropping the cover story, How to Connect to the Internet, and started writing for a brand new magazine called Wired. As is so often the case with new converts, I was an instant over the top evangelist. And why not? Dreams formerly relegated to pulp science fiction novels have become reality. The library of all knowledge was just a few 14.4 baud beeps and gurgles away. I was far from a libertarian, but I do confess to resonating to John Cypherpunk Gilmore's declaration that the net interprets censorship as damages and routes around it. Totalitarians, corporate overlords, and media monopolies, beware. Your gatekeeping days were over. The internet had set us free. Gosh, I love the internet. But 25 years later, I see the words, the blockchain is the new internet, scrolling down Twitter, and it's all, and it's all I can do to keep from screaming, oh man, I fucking hate the blockchain. I want to shake my newsfeed by the scruff of the neck and growl, have you people learned nothing? Call me apostate or maybe just an aging grouch, but if the blockchain really is the new internet, we're all screwed. Yeah, like this guy knows what he's talking about. Who yells at their news feed? Anyway, let's get a few things out of the way. He kind of redeems himself a bit in this paragraph. Let's get a few things out of the way. I do not hate the blockchain because I fundamentally question the technical merits of cryptographically secure distributed database technology. Nor do I hate blockchain because of how quickly initial coin offerings turned from innovative way to raise startup capital without selling your soul to venture capitalists to how fast can we scam a whole generation of crypto suckers out of their cash before security regulators slam the door on our collective ass. I don't even hate the blockchain because Bitcoin seems at this point primarily a way to transmute massive amounts of electricity into a speculative climate changing, accelerating investment commodity. Yeah, let's. This is where he starts to go full libtard. There are a great many smart people working on blockchain implementations and a ton of money pouring into the space. I am prepared to concede that some useful applications will emerge that make my life more convenient and don't break the planet. A few years had to pass between Mosaic 1.0 and the debut of Spotify and streaming Netflix and the iPhone. There's still plenty of time before we call this round of innovation a wrap. Remember this sentence here, because he kind of forgets it. No, my problem has little to do with the actual technology. My gripe is with human faith in technology. The same kind of utopian promises that bloomed during the internet's early heyday, freedom, fairness, and equality for a society of tomorrow, are on the tip of every Bitcoin miner's tongue. The passion of the true zealot is everywhere. The blockchain will set us free. But if there is one thing that we should have learned from the history of the last 25 years, it is that digital networks and computers and code are no solution to human brokenness. Nobody said that they were a solution to human brokenness. What is he even talking about? With each passing day, the opposite seems more likely to be true. Pressure exerted by the internet cracked some long existing social fissures wide open. Instead of gaining access to the library of all human knowledge, we ended up card-carrying members of Jorge Luis Borges' Library of Babel, that infinite biblio nightmare that stockpiled every possible iteration of gibberish along with the real books written in real languages. Instead of leading us to truth, the internet gave everyone the unparalleled opportunity to build their own personal knowledge universe, catalyzing a comprehensive unmooring of society from actual fact that has surely been a factor in the rise of Trump and a global turn towards propaganda-fed authoritarianism. All right, I'm going to pause here. So I think anybody that's been on the internet, even from when it was started way back 25 years ago, we all know that there's information, all sorts of information on the internet, and everybody knows that not everything on the internet is true. He seems to be mixing up data, information, and truth. You have to seek truth. Truth doesn't just get printed on the internet and everything else just gets erased. So he's basically saying that the internet is what's caused propaganda, which is really hilarious because if anything, the internet has set us free from propaganda because propaganda is what's shoved in our face on TV and movies, magazines, everything that's not the internet. So yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. And you have to watch out for people like this in tech because they start to bleed together their ideas of politics into the actual tech and what the tech can achieve, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't achieve anything but trying to say that what's being built is not going to help people in the future, which is not true. All right, continuing. Instead of freeing ourselves from the manipulation of corporations and governments, we have bequeathed them the most powerful tools of panoptic surveillance and control ever invented. No, not really. The smartest blockchain developers that I have talked to do not deny these truths of what the internet has wrought. On the contrary, what gets them most excited about the future is their confidence that blockchain technology is the antidote for all the toxic ills unleashed by the internet anarchy. Once their dreams of perfectly decentralized, unhackable, smart contract executing, trustless tech is perfected, they believe, central banks and government tyranny will be rendered impotent. Nation-state borders transcended, voting fraud and fake news made impossible. The blockchain, in their view, is a teleological apotheosis, the perfection of progressive human civilization through technology. At the heart of this vision is the idea that human messiness can be abstracted away by clever code. In a trustless system, public key cryptography and the consensus generated by distributing a database across multiple nodes eliminates the potential for fraud or corruption or exploitation committed by any intermediary. Smart contracts will automatically execute the terms of any deal without getting bogged down by human fickleness or well-capitalized litigation. Tyrants will be powerless against cryptocurrency-funded freedom fighters organized in decentralized networks. That's the theory anyway, but it misses the most important point about human messiness. The indisputable fact, obvious to anyone who has studied the history of technology or simply been alive for the last 25 years, is that living, breathing humans will deploy any conceivable technology for both good and evil, for the realization of both freedom and tyranny, for greed, power, and just plain mayhem. And this was highlighted by a bunch of people. So I think all liberals. And obviously, that's any tech, not just computers. Though thinking about it, what kind of bad tech can be deployed via blockchain? Money that can't be double spent? Oh, that's so evil. The internet gave white The internet gave white supremacists a voice denied to them for decades. Nothing is going to stop them from figuring out how to use blockchain technology for bigotry. Smart contracts will be tested in human courts. Regulators will regulate. Okay. Yeah, the internet gave white supremacists a voice denied to them for decades. What, did their voice just get muted? They've always been able to speak, and it's not against the law for them to speak. In the U.S., we do have the First Amendment, regardless of if you agree with them or not. So, God, this guy is just oozing libtard. Decentralization is the first commandment of the blockchain faith. But what did William Butler Yeats tell us what happens when the center cannot hold? Things fall apart. I respect the idealism of blockchain developers who, I believe, are sincere in their faith that they are building a better world. But I'm confounded by their inability to see that they are falling victim to exactly the same fallacies that their hacker forebears embraced. This notion that we can code ourselves out of the deep holes we've dug, and that we are building utopias in our virtualities that will finesse away imperfections of human character. That's not what we're not. No, we're not trying to code our way out of societal issues. We're just trying to build a level playing field for everybody. That's what these political hacks do not get. We're not trying to solve all of humankind's problems with blockchain. We're just trying to build a currency that won't be inflated, platforms that won't be censored, and identities that won't be stolen. Simple things like that. We're not trying to solve all of humankind's problems through blockchain or through crypto. This guy seems to believe that with the rise of blockchain, the white supremacists will have a voice, and then the world will fall apart. All right. It seems to me increasingly clear that we need to spend less time abstracting away our humanity and more time pressing the flesh. Instead of seeking out the anatomy of decentralization, we need to figure out how to come together. To successfully deal with the failings of humanity, we have to spend more time with humans and less time thumbing our smartphones. I do agree with that. I think people spend way too much time on their smartphones, but we couldn't figure out the failings of humanity when we didn't have smartphones. I don't know how all of a sudden getting together after smartphones is going to make us figure it out. And this is not to get too political on my part, but this is also one of the differences between, liberals of today and more libertarian viewed people. It's like there are two. They say there's two types of people in the world: people that want to be left alone and people that won't leave you alone. And this is a guy that will not leave you alone. All right, last paragraph here, last two. It's not hard to understand the urge to declare that the blockchain is the new internet. The mid-90s were a giddy time. The astonishingly fast transformation that swept through the culture was unlike anything in recent memory. And if you were riding the shockwave of that blast, it was exhilarating. Linked together in a global network, the computers that Steve Jobs called bicycles of the mind promised to take us anywhere we wanted to go. And of course, a whole lot of people ended up making quite a bit of money off the new digital infrastructure. So who wouldn't want to return to optimism of those to the optimism of those groovy days. So who wouldn't want to return to optimism of those days? Peace, love, and the internet, man. It was so groovy. That's why I love the internet so much, because of that sense of possibility and hope and progress. But that's also exactly why I hate blockchain, because it reminds me of just how illusory those promises turned out to be. So this is another person that thinks technology should be solving humanity's problems. And just like anything else, technology is just a platform for us to build on top of. I just wanted to, I thought this article was interesting, and I wanted to just let you guys know that as we move further and further along, building on top of blockchain, and these platforms get more and more prevalent on the internet, and these platforms are become more and more mainstream, more and more of these weirdos are going to be coming out of the woodwork, claiming that this platform that can't be censored, has to be shut down because white supremacists are going to speak to one another, or just these are the real authoritarians, the people that think they can solve everybody's problems. And like I said, there's two types of people in the world: people that want to be left alone and people that will not leave you alone. And this guy does not want to leave you alone. Anyway, the link for this article will be in the description. Please like, subscribe, check out some other videos that I got a whole bunch. And that's all I got for today. Thanks a lot.